following last week's success for Sri Lanka in the UN's Human Rights Council, there was a feeling in some quarters that Sri Lanka might escape without facing war crimes charges. Here is what renowned war crimes investigator Geoffrey Robertson had to say about this particular issue.
What is the answer to this? If the human rights, the body that's meant to be starting these things...
The Human Rights Council is a highly politicized body. It's made up not of experts on human rights, but of paltering diplomats, and Europe is only allocated 7 of the 47 seats. We have countries like Russia, China, obviously concerned to keep their own internal problems down and away from oversight. We have Egypt, we even have Cuba. So the decision is not really surprising. Sri Lanka itself is a member of this highly politicized council, despite the efforts of Desmond Tutu and Jimmy Carter last year to stop them gaining membership, and they passed this rather self-congratulatory motion. So although the Human Rights Council has set up an important investigation into the Israel-Palestinian conflict over Gaza, looking at both sides, they weren't prepared to look at both sides. But that's not the end of the story. In the UN sense, because UN officials can look into it. John Holmes, Judge Pillai wants to...
We should explain. It's very confusing when you hear about all the various human rights bodies, but John Holmes is the senior humanitarian affairs coordinator.
We heard from him a minute ago. He's very concerned.
Judge Navi Pillai
wants to conduct an investigation.
And he's the High Commissioner on Human Rights.
That's right. But more importantly, I think, there is a Human Rights Committee which sits in Geneva. It's a kind of court, and individuals can complain. Unusually, Sri Lanka has actually signed up to the International Convention on Human Rights, which has this body that investigates complaints. So any individual can complain against Sri Lanka. Can't complain against many other countries, but Sri Lanka is one country where it can look into individual complaints. So there's certainly going to be an inquiry, I would have thought, by the Human Rights Committee, and there are other possibilities. The Convention on Torture, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, even the Genocide Convention could all be applied in due course. So there are ways and means of finding out, fact-finding in effect, as to whether there have been breaches of the Geneva Convention, the targeting of civilians, or the bombing of hospitals, and so forth, that have been alleged.
There is a problem, though, as John Holmes pointed out. Nobody was there at the time, and the difficulty of finding out information afterwards when you have the Sri Lankan government saying what it does say, and with such limited
Absolutely.
access.
I mean, the Sri Lankan government kept out the international media, so there'd be no immediate eyewitnesses. They allowed the Red Cross in, but the irony of the Red Cross is that they are prevented from giving testimony in international courts. That's the quid pro quo, if you like, the Faustian bargain that we make for the Red Cross. They can be in on wars, but they're not allowed to testify if they see war crimes. So, in effect, other humanitarian bodies were kept out and are being kept out. In the fullness of time, of course, you do have witnesses, you do have thousands of people who are on that dreadful strip of beach, you do have priests, you do have doctors. They seem to be talking already. They'll talk in the fullness of time. You have grave excavations. I mean, this is the way, unfortunately, war crimes are now dealt with, through forensic investigators finding out the story by investigating mass graves, and there do seem, from aerial photographs, to be some.
Geoffrey Robertson, thank you very much.